we go.
Hello everyone, it's Start here, and today we're starting our 8th episode of our modded No Man's Sky Let's Play. But before we hop into anything, I just want to throw out there a public service announcement. Please, everybody, don't forget to update your mods. I spent a little more time than I would like to admit trying to troubleshoot an issue, only to realize that the mod author had already fixed it. So, once again, public service announcement, please update your mods. Second thing, I had mentioned that I was going to check out Black GUI in the last episode, and I went ahead and downloaded it, and you'll see it throughout this episode, and boy, how do I say this? I love it. I don't know, it's something I would not have thought of, but after I installed it, there's no going back. Just a slight change to the color of the menu makes a massive difference to the feeling of the game. So I highly recommend it to everyone. Don't wait, go out and download it. It's worth it. A little side note though, it does change the main menu a little bit, and it doesn't look perfect, but it's a small sacrifice to make for the mod itself. With the public announcement and the new mod I added out of the way, I can start going over what's going on in this episode. We're just continuing the Artemis questline, and the next step it has us doing is using the translator he gave us in order to learn some new words. And this includes learning it from by talking to a person, learning it from a knowledge stone, and then learning it from a monolith. After that, you have to talk to a guy in order to help you find the coordinates of Artemis. However, the little punk won't help you unless you have a high enough standing. And he wants you to go to the space station in order to complete some quests to raise your standing. However, I remembered that I had some Gek relics, and I was able to just completely skip this part of the mission by just handing the Gek relics to 2 local Geks on the station, completely bypassing it, saving me a ton of time. After that, talk to this Gek, and then he gives me a pretty sassy response telling me that the coordinates I gave him must have been made up because they don't make any sense. And unfortunately, that is bad news for our old friend Artemis in space. We fly out to space and break the bad news to our little buddy. Hey man, something's fishy about your situation. Artemis clearly doesn't take it well, a little bit of denial kicks in, and he basically denies what's going on. So then we move on over to the Nexus in order to tell Nada, in which he gives us no useful advice, so I completely skip over that in this video, and move on to me turning in some of my milestones and scan data in order to get me some extra nanites. And that is because I cut it out of this clip because I looked like an idiot. I went to the space station in order to buy some upgrades, only to realize I didn't have enough credits to buy anything useful. So if you notice that it seems like I got a lot of nanites from this part, that's because of a mod I have installed that slightly increases the amount of nanites you get per milestone achieved, which I think kind of adds up as you get a bunch of them. Next section here, I end up looking at my inventory to see if I have any salvage data so I can learn some new blueprints. And this is because I have the darkness mod. So night times around my base is pitch black, and I'm hoping to buy some lights to fix that problem. And of course, the obligatory buy your inventory when you're in each new system. Whenever I don't do that, I always end up kicking myself in the butt. But I finally make it over here to the blueprints, looking for the right lights. I think those other ones were useless. So I end up buying all of the lights in this entire section, hoping that at least one of them will do the trick. I happen to remember in the past, these lights didn't actually provide any real light. And if that is the case, I do believe there's a mod on the Nexus that'll fix that. Next thing is to figure out what the heck are we gonna do next. And after a little bit of fumbling around, I finally settle on it's time to build our jetpack upgrade, because life without that is super annoying. As I fly off into space here, just gotta figure out what I'm missing in order to get this. And it's just some basic chromatic metal and condensed carbon. However, before I get anywhere, my squirrel brain kicks in, I get the next part of the mission, and I immediately hop on over to continue that. This next part is basically a repeat of almost every other quest in the game. You go to a hollow terminus and you end up talking to a random person. This time it happens to be our buddy, I'll use that term loosely, Apollo, who ends up being a real jerk and basically tells us that he has no interest in helping us. However, after breaking some bad news about our mutual friend Artemis, he reluctantly agrees to help out. And in doing so, he gives us another mission. But this time, back on track, it's time for us to upgrade our jetpack. And I do this by searching the area while, of course, scanning the local fauna, and find some copper to turn into chromatic metal. And then, as you'll see later on, I eventually end up in a cave where I farm up some carbon as well as some cobalt, because it can never hurt to have too much cobalt. So I've noticed when it comes time to actually mine this, I just use the largest mining tool possible just to save time. But I happen to get more copper than I was expecting. And I think it's somewhere since the last time I played, they've increased the harvest rates when you're using the larger terrain manipulator tool. However, this could obviously be a change in one of the mods, and I just don't remember it. Anyways, I figure I grabbed some silver as well, because you can never have too much shiny metal. As I come over here to refine down the carbon and the copper, I recommend that you always use the condensed carbon as fuel. And that's because I think it's a 2-to-1 ratio to make, but it acts as like 3 times the amount when it comes time to actually refining. And then obviously when you break the refiner, you get it back anyways, so nothing's wasted. Of course, the obligatory dihydrogen farming, which if you play this game long enough, it becomes second nature because you never want to get caught without it. So, as I was mentioning earlier, I find myself in a cave, I mine me some cobalt, as well as the needed carbon. I go ahead and just make some condensed carbon, and I end up just finishing my jetpack, although it occurred to me that I never actually test it because I immediately get into my spaceship. But this is a huge milestone because every single jetpack upgrade makes the game just feel that much better. But off into space we go so that we can continue our quest line. Our goal here is so we can travel to the next solar system in order to pick up an engineer to help develop our base. However, I cut out the clip where I kind of fumbled around the galaxy map because I forgot how to use it, and through the power of editing, I can look like a pro. So we can head off into the space station to complete our mission, but first, we gotta pick up our obligatory inventory space. God, I don't want to admit how many times I forget to do that, and so I won't. Anyways, moving on, we end up talking to our scientist here, who gives us an opportunity to choose a upgrade, and I panic and choose toxic and immediately regret it because my home planet's not toxic. Luckily enough, he gives us the next quest, which is to go back to our home base, which is perfect. It gives us an opportunity to kind of overhaul the base as well as test out those lights we just bought and see if any of them are going to do the trick and help us see in the crazy darkness we brought upon ourselves with the mod we installed. This is going to wrap up this episode and leave us in a perfect place to pick up next time. But we're going to do some base overhaul, which I'm really looking forward to. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.